action letter closeout from the early 1990s. In other words, this is probably their third time in the barrel. They know what good looks like. The problem is the Human Capital Management Program, which was applied system-wide in 2013 at Entergy, caused fatalities, challenged nuclear safety at ANO for 2 nuclear units. Scores of workers have never returned to work again from them. The loss of power when that ANO's internal flood design was never finished caused a Fukushima-like loss of power, all directly related to the 2013 HCM. And earlier, you'll note that all the significant advanced decline in progress, or lack of progress at Entergy, has occurred since 2013. In 2013, the Human Capital Management Program is when they took their quality assurance and quality control program, and instead of maintaining it as being independent, put it under the control of production managers. Now, all of this combined, along with their nuclear safety culture, leads one to question Entergy's fitness for duty to hold a nuclear license. And is the NRC going to address that? Thank you.
I'm number 6, John Nichols.
Yes, please, John Nichols, number 6.
John Nichols, I'm from Orleans. The letter that resulted in this meeting was signed by 23 state and federal officials. Those officials were both U.S. senators from Massachusetts, every U.S. representative from Massachusetts, Governor Baker, Attorney General Healy, state President of the Senate, Senator Rosenberg, Senator Sarah DiMassino, Representatives Peake, Hunt, Carlton, Cutler, and Fernandez. It was not signed by Speaker of the House, Julio. It's great that they wrote the letter, and it's great that this meeting is being held, and it's great that the NRC agreed to do it. It is not enough to write a letter. It's easy to sign a letter. Every signer of that letter, and every state legislator who needs to become educated enough and speak out and demand publicly for the NRC to shut down Pilgrim.
Right.
And it's only going to happen. It will only happen if the constituents of those legislators and officials demand it. And in here, there are a number of activists who are constituents of some of them. But you're not enough. Write letters to the papers. Call upon your state legislator, your federal legislator to speak out publicly. The public is too inactive, and that's why Pilgrim is continuing to act, and we need more pressure. Thank you.
The next person is Irene Caldwell, number 55.
I'm passing this to my daughter.
Jennifer Yeager. These days, things that we thought impossible could not possibly happen in so many ways. And it's made me wake up. You would not enroll your child in a child care center if its playground was not up to code. You would not put your child on a bus if you discovered its brakes were overdue for maintenance. You would be picketing outside of your child's school if you discovered that it failed its fire inspection and the school department decided it wasn't such a big deal, that repairs could wait. Yet this is what we have at Pilgrim with a threat 100-fold. In our own backyard, a place we love, a place we call home, a place where we purchase homes and born our children, we have a potential threat we have not been assured. We do not see evidence of change. I do not see that our safety and our loved ones and our community and our neighbors and our children have been put before Entergy's financial interests. It is time to get started on what is next. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 10, Lydia Dubanti.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm one of the tree-hugging hippies from the Cape. emergency reference sheet. We have these at the town hall all over the Cape, and also in the DPW buildings, you'll find these informational sheets. They tell us to, in the event of a radiation emergency, we are to stay calm, stay indoors, stay tuned, monitor the emergency alert system for official information. And this reminds me of being in elementary school and being told to get under our desk.
Yes.
And it's just not right. I think Massachusetts can be better, and I think that America can be better. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 58, Fred Winston.
Fred Flintstone. He's this guy, the guy in Turkey.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diane Turco with Cape Town Winders. I got the email, and when I read it, I said, they know. They know how bad Pilgrim is. Hooray. The goal of this special inspection is to arrest declining performance, and I thought you guys got it when I read that email. But even tonight, you just said, early in the journey, you were early in the journey to improve the safety culture. Well, I'm going to trust that email, because you said in that email, we are observing current indications of a safety culture that, a problem that a bunch of talking just won't fix. Okay, we're going to stick with that. Okay? In that email, you expose systemic mismanagement and ongoing violations of federal safety standards, and today you're saying there's more. Entergy is losing money and won't invest in a dying reactor, and it's not going to take us down with it. We have a failed reactor run by a failing corporation with a failure of oversight, a recipe for catastrophe. This isn't a candy factory. This is a nuclear power reactor that threatens the 5 million people within the 50-mile emergency planning zone, and that includes Boston. We refuse to be collateral damage to the corporate profits of Entergy. We are at a tipping point. To disregard or obvious risk to human life and safety is criminal negligence. Is an accident the only acceptable criteria for the NRC to use to shut Pilgrim? This is clearly a violation of the public trust. Your decision today answers this question. The NRC and your weak regulations that promote the industry will not save us. As Love here said, your email may well save our lives. We stand here today to affirm our right to safety. It's Article 1 of the Massachusetts Constitution. We stand here today to affirm our right to safety, and we want you to shut Pilgrim down. It's your job, do it.
The next speaker is number 61, Candace Perry.
Hello, my name is Candace Perry. I live in Wellfleet on Cape Cod. I carry a map with me. This is Cape Cod. This is Pilgrim over here. This is Wellfleet, 25 miles. So I'm 25 miles from this place, which I think can take my home and all that I love. And I'd like to know if all of us here can just go lay down on the ground when they try to refuel. Because I don't know what else to do. That seems to be the only thing we can stop. Apparently the NRC will not stop them from refueling, so they get to add more danger when we're already in a dangerous situation. So I wish you could advise me why I should not be worried about this plant.
Thank you. The next speaker is Steve.
Answer the question. We have an answer?
Yeah, we laid out early in the discussion, there are a number of things that we see, the declining frequency of the automatic shutdowns of the plant, improved reliability and availability of equipment, the effectiveness of the control room operators, both in the control room and what we see in the simulators. So there is, from all that I've seen from this team and from the rest of our inspection program, I do see signs of improvement at Pilgrim. I do see that they have a lot of work to do before they would get to this oversight.
Read the email.
Are you allowing refueling?
So I did read the email, and I am not, and I am, at this point, I am, based on what I know today, we are allowing refueling.
History will not absolve you, ever.
No refueling.
Never. Shame.
The next,
Shame.
Shame.
The next speaker,
come on.
the next speaker will be number 74, Steve Berglund.
Thank you for this opportunity. I would just like to echo the sentiments that have been expressed, most of which have been right on the money. As a paid tree hugger myself, with grandchildren and grown children living in an area that would be prohibited from exiting if there were a nuclear emergency because of the inadequate escape plan, I'm unanimously favored shutting this place down as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 51, John Golly.
Go, John. Go, John.
How you doing? Thanks. I don't really want to thank you for being here. I am a tree hugger from Hingham. And, you know, I planted trees around this plant when I was in Boy Scouts. I was born in the South Shore, lived here my whole life. And the idea that you're here saying it's safe or that the staff is qualified, for me, doesn't fly anymore. I was at a court trial where Senator Dan Wolf said that in 7 minutes you could fly an airplane into it from Falmouth Airport. Where's your safety culture in that issue? Or what about somebody flying it in from Boston? The fuel rods are overstocked. What's going to happen if that happens? Are you prepared for that? There's 5 million people that live here. This is our home. We do have alternative energies around other things, right? This is like a huge safety threat. So to say this is safe or we're doing these frickin' inspections that are going to make things cool, it ain't cool. I mean, I'm really pissed, especially with the refueling thing. I can't even believe that you're that arrogant to say, oh, we're going to refuel. Where the fuck do you live? Huh? This is our home. We live here every day. Everything I love is here. All right? From the ice cream to the cranberry bogs to Wampatuck State Park. I live here. And everything from 50 miles it would have to be evacuated if some moron flies a plane into it, and that's fucking safe? Oh, wait a minute. You wanted to drop me on my language, or are you going to answer the question?
No, I appreciate your comments. I grew up in Hingham. I learned to drive in Wampatuck State Park.
Did you get airborne?
I'm sorry?
Did you get airborne on Elf Street? Come on.
I don't think I actually got airborne, but I do remember that spot.
So I don't want to be friends. No. I don't care about your comments. I'm just telling you mine. All right? As a South Shore resident, I will fight you all the way. All right? Because this is not safe. You can't say that after Fukushima.
Right.
Shut it down.
Thank you. The next speaker will be number 56, Jennifer Yeager.
Can you hear me? all, I want to thank the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for giving us the open captions, for us hearing people with hearing loss. It's wonderful, and I hope other people are enjoying it as much as I am. If energy wanted to continue as a nuclear power plant, they would not have systematically failed the safety protocols. They would not have allowed their plant to move from a Class 1 to a Class 4 system. They were not interested in protecting us. They were interested in the bottom line. If you were a parent of a child who was not acting appropriately, and you kept giving that child ways to get better and ways to improve, and your child kept failing and harming people, eventually as a parent, you would be held accountable for the horrible things that your child has done because you failed to reprimand them, you failed to discipline them, you made excuses for their behavior, you did not take ownership. Now you, as the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, have to take ownership of the power you have been given. Just as you have been given ownership of all of the nuclear power plants in the United States, you now have to be the parent and say, Entergy, you have failed, and you are out, you are closed. Thank you.
The next speaker will be number 14, Susan Carpenter.
My name is Susan Carpenter. I live in South Venice. And I would like to mention something that is not in the report and occurred after. And that was when 3 of the valves broke down. Now, I assumed that this was probably a weakness in the valve system. And it turns out there were 3 different problems. And that, to me, is indicative of a plant that is falling apart, that is failing, that has outlived its lifetime. And I feel that this whole situation with all of the things that are going wrong show that we need to have this plant shut down now.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 5, Paul Gunter.
Thank you. My name is Paul Gunter with Beyond Nuclear. And, luckily, when Fukushima exploded, the bulk of the radiation blew out to sea, but there's still an area there that's been knocked out of economic and, the public is no longer there. And, the National Diet of Japan recognized that in their report, the Fukushima Nuclear Accident Independent Investigation. And what they said was that they warned that while regulators in the industry maintain the safety of nuclear power is guaranteed, the Fukushima accident was preceded by a regulatory capture that repeatedly avoided, compromised, or postponed any course of action, regulation, or finding that would threaten the continued operation of the nuclear power plant. And this speaks directly to this meeting here tonight, that this operator is acting in direct defiance to even your own regulations. And there are no performance standards with which it can violate that will stimulate this agency to take any effective enforcement action to shut this plant down until it can come into compliance with your own regulations. And, so this meeting here tonight is more about the agency's safety culture. And, to speak directly to the credit of people like Dan Dorman, we've been following this agency through this whole Fukushima accident, and I can tell this public here tonight
that Dan is one of the leaders of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission that wanted this power plant and all these other GE reactors to be required by order to have their containments vented with radiation filters put into that vent line. And the industry lobbied against that. They robbed the public of its comment period in the same process. But what happened was the integrity of people like Dan Dorman were compromised by a political decision to defend the financial interest of this industry and this power plant in particular.
Right.
And so that's what we're really up against. We've got good people with integrity that are being compromised in the process so that the emolument of this industry comes first before your safety.
Right, right.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 50, Carol Bosley.
Can you hear me? My name is Carol Bosley, and I live in Kingston. I've attended a number of meetings where people have stood up and spoken about these issues, but I am really impressed by the eloquence and the power of what's being said here tonight. However, I do not feel that we, the public, and by that I mean all of New England, as far north as the Canadian border and as far south as New York, we are not in need of a session of venting. We have spoken, and nothing that we have to say here tonight is news to you. You know about these dangers. You are aware of the terminal toxicity that would result from a nuclear accident here. You are aware of all of this. You have the facts. What is different tonight is that through an error, for which we are all grateful, we have some of the facts at our disposal, and we can talk to you about them for the first time ever. But it's not conversation. It's not conversation. We don't have emotional needs to let you know how terrified we are. We are in grave and mortal danger, and for it to continue at your behest is criminal and should not be allowed. Thank you.
First of all, I really do appreciate those comments, and I also appreciate the passion that you have. I am not a criminal, okay? I have a wife and 2 kids. I live 11 miles.
Not so sure.
Not you. Let me talk, okay? Please. I'm a member of the public, okay? If I had something that I was passionate about, just like you are, I would be sitting in one of those chairs doing exactly the same thing, because that's what this country's about, okay? I'm also a public servant, okay? I work for you, and I'm taking my 30 years of experience and frankly doing the best I can to outline where Entergy is at right now so that we can utilize our regulatory duty and do what we're doing. And Dan explained that earlier. Somebody mentioned about, I keep seeing the whitewash and the transparent. The fact that the email went out, I mean, it happened. It would not have changed anything, okay? The violations that I have at this point, and I explained that earlier, if the email had not gone out, would be the same place they are right now, okay? So I am transparent, and I'm trying to get to the right endpoint with this. And frankly, the way I look at it, somebody said, do your job. I feel like I have everything to lose with this also. And I think the team members on this team, we all think that way. Okay? I mean, this is not an insignificant task to us, and it has not been since the beginning. And I volunteered to do it because I, number one, have 30 years of experience, I know what I'm doing. And number two, I have a passion for nuclear safety. So I'm telling you, right, gotcha, I'm with you. I'm sitting where, I gotcha, okay? And when we get to the conclusion and come up with our conclusions and give them to our management, we have a very clear process that lays out where we go with the plan. So I wanted to point out that, like, I keep getting the anger here. I got the passion, but I am a member of the public, okay? And I also work for you, and I frankly do a pretty good job at it.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Come sit with us. Shut it down. Revoke the license. Yeah.
I'm a public servant also. If I heard all these comments from the public, I would say no. I would say shut it down.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker will be number 11, Kyle Gaslick.
Hello. It's been about 4 years since the last time I talked to you all. Two on the right. It's actually been, I think, about 8 now. I talked to you guys back when I was 10, which is pretty great to remember that. I'm an adult. I've grown up in Plymouth. I've grown up on the Cape, and I can honestly say, if you guys think it is safe, I trust in your judgment. What is it? A combined experience of at least 100 years between you four? Is that correct? Yeah. That's more than we've had of actual nuclear power in the country running, or even had 100 years of nuclear power available. That's amazing. Thank you for at least letting us stay open for 3 more years. It's nice to know that my power will be on safely and correctly till then. I know that you don't have a very good backup system yet planned, which is terrifying to me. Having hospitals nearby and such, and being so excited to see it gone tomorrow without a good way to keep them open is horrifying to see such lack of education or forethought. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 57, Sash Erskine.
She's not here, and I can pass it to anybody who waves their hand that they want it. You got it.
Thank you for coming and for having this quite different kind of interaction than we've had with you before. We appreciate it. My name is Norman Peters, and I am a resident of Plymouth since 1975. About 7 or 8 years ago, I spent about a month in the hospital. I used about 6 gallons of whole blood. I spent the next 8 months on chemotherapy. I was a skeleton with no hair, and I couldn't walk. I didn't have the strength to do that. So when the NRC decided that it would commission the National Academy of Science to do a study to determine how dangerous it is to live close to nuclear plants, I was interested. I was excited. I thought they were doing the right thing. And as you know, they also decided not to get that data and to shut that study down. So how do you inspect the amount of radiation that is coming into our bodies? How do you talk about the safety of the leaks that we have at Pilgrim? I mean, there's a whole additional level of danger that we each face, or not. We don't know. We know that in the early 1990s, the epidemiological studies showed that the closer you live to the plant, the greater your likelihood of radiation-related cancers. And we also have lots of people saying a little radiation won't hurt anybody. And you guys decided not to find out what the truth is. So you have no credibility at all in the areas that have to do with health and leukemia. How many of you have children or grandchildren who are living close to a nuclear plant? No, but does it, and I imagine it concerns you.
It does not concern me because I understand the technology.
Yes, but you are also part of an agency that decided to make sure we didn't have the proof that you were right. It's just an opinion at this point, with other opinions bouncing back and forth. There are some areas, the place that needs to be investigated is in New Orleans.
Washington.
Entergy. It's the management issue that sets this culture in that direction. You can't investigate them. Enough. Thank you. Thank you.
We talk to Ian Bailey about children.
I'm a child, and I believe it's perfectly acceptable. Of course, I'm an adult, but as I was already told by a couple people here, I am a child.
We can tell.
See, look at that. I believe it's perfectly safe. I grew up here.
Okay. Okay, the next speaker would be number 44, Keith Maxwell.
Oh, I already spoke, so I'll transfer.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Altair. I live in Kingston, 8 miles from the Pilgrim nuclear power plant. I've been watching Pilgrim for a very long time and paying a lot of attention to what the NRC does or does not do for at least 5 years. I've come to many meetings like this before, and I've gotten up and spoken what I think was true. And the last time I asked, how is this being recorded? What's going to happen to all our remarks after we make them tonight? Last time you told me, well, you're taking notes, and I see people up there scribbling away. Well, is it going any further than that? What are you hearing? I don't want an answer to that right now. I just want to say, I'm not sure that we're ever really heard. And the NRC model, which is the first thing you see when you go online, it is protecting people and the environment. And so far, I have seen no evidence that that's what the NRC is doing. It's mainly protecting the industry and energy. That's the way I see it. And the thing that really is frightening is what's going to close Pilgrim down? Energy? Are they going to close it down? Well, they say they're going to close down in 2019, but in my opinion, that's not soon enough. However, you are our only hope. You are our only hope. And when I hear you and talk about, your engineers and you understand all these things that we don't really understand. Believe me, I tried to read all the reports, but anyway, I think it's all, as Mary Lambert said, it's all these categories where you go in and you have these lists of things you check, and you check things off, and some things are working and some things aren't. But all these regulations, are not the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter, it leaves out so much. It leaves out the fact that there is so much radiological waste sitting there, and if it continues to operate, there's going to be more. It leaves out all of this stuff that we know is happening that's wrong, but there are no regulations that you go in and check it off and say, well, okay, well, they're working on it, and we're going to give them 2 or 3 years. So anyway, I just would like to say, I believe that the motto should be followed, that you should be protecting people and the environment, and I don't think what we've been doing is that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is number 75, Steve Patton.
Thank you. My name is Steve Patton. I live in Falmouth, Massachusetts. In 1979, I lived in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and was very active with 3 Mile Island Alert, and always found that the NRC were intelligent, careful preparers of information to present to us. No one else was, but the Nuclear Regulatory Commission was always there to talk to us. And I would like to recognize Congress at the time, Congressman Markey, who was on the Energy Committee, and got us a meeting with Harold Denton, who was then chair. Our local delegation, unlike yours, failed us completely. And we had that opportunity. I don't want to see anyone go through the years that we went through, being concerned, and then eventually having to deal with the restart of the undamaged reactor at 3 Mile Island. My wife was arrested, blockading the gate of 3 Mile Island when they attempted to restart it. She's not with us anymore. She died of breast cancer. I don't blame her on 3 Mile Island, but I often wonder the impact. She was 4 months pregnant, and we lived 8 miles from the plant. So I understand all of the people here, but in your evaluations, the key is how does a staff respond to an emergency? Clearly, staff failure caused the accident at 3 Mile Island, which I continue to believe was far more damaging to the health, not just my mental health, but the mental health and the physical health of many of the residents of central Pennsylvania and wherever the plume went from there. The radiation monitors were inadequate for the volume of radiation that left the plant. The gauge is stuck on full, and that was the end of their ability to deal with that. So I'm here as when Mr. Cochran came to speak to us after the accident, he calmly explained nuclear power to us. He was a younger man then, it was 38 years ago. And then at the end of his speech, we asked him what he thought we should do with the plant. And he said, as I tell you today, shut it down!
Thank you. The next speaker is number 46, Janet Azorowitz.
I was going to present to the panel with a petition that the Pilgrim Legislative Advisory Coalition put out. Everything that's been talked about is in this. We've got signatures that accumulated in a matter of less than 2 weeks. I'm ceding my time to our Senator Dan Wolf.
I want to thank you all for being here. And just to be clear, since there can't be 2 senators representing 1 district, I will volunteer that I'm the former state senator. We met last in the State House. It's great to see you again. I sort of want to offer myself up as a bit of an expert witness because in addition to being the state senator, I also have been operating an airline in the region here for 30 years. I've been a pilot flying over this area for 40, and I've been an aviation technician for 38 years. And one of the things we do in aviation, as you all are charged with doing, is develop and oversee aging equipment, looking at the operation of aging equipment and the maintenance of aging equipment. And I am extremely concerned based on a tour I took of that plant 5 years ago, shortly after I was elected. And by the way, I didn't lose, I just didn't run this time, just in case anybody's wondering. I am extremely concerned and would even not questioning the integrity of any individuals, the people working at the plant, the folks here, or the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. It's not a question of personal integrity. It's not a question of whether you're a good public servant. I trust all of that. It's a question of whether a 44-year-old piece of technology that was licensed to run 40 years, that is on the cutting edge from an aging standpoint. There are no 60-year-old plants there that we can say, what were the lessons learned between years 44 and 60? We are using this plant as the lessons learned, and that is extremely, extremely risky. As a technician and as somebody who runs an airline, I'm the CEO, I still fly, I'm still a mechanic, but as someone who runs an airline that flies 1 million people a year, with 95 airplanes all over the world, who understands safety culture, who understands how to maintain and operate aging equipment, I am extremely, extremely concerned. If my airline or another airline saw a letter like the one that you sent, and I know, Don, it wasn't intentionally released, I get what happens during investigations. We have oversight with a federal agency, the FAA. I understand there's a difference between a final report and an in-progress investigation. I get all that. But if my airline or another airline got that kind of in-progress interim report, I would be extremely concerned. And in fact, I don't know if I'd want my family to fly on that airline. But here's the real problem. We're not talking about one flight. If my airline had that kind of correspondence from the regulatory agency, and I said to you, I want you to put a family member that you love on my airline for the next 2.5 or 3 years, every day, all day, based on that interim report, you wouldn't do it. You might say, hey, the odds on one flight, they're not too bad. But what we're talking about here is a continually operating plant that really is in failure. And I will say that. Not only will I use the term failure of government, again, no personal insult intended, because I think you all are good, upstanding public citizens, but I think this is a failure of government's role balancing public safety with corporate interest, and I think it's out of balance right now. I have to say that. So in closing, I ask you please to consider, would you put your family on an airline where you had observed the safety culture and the multiple small system failures? You have convenience item failures, you have small system failures, then you have catastrophic failures. That's the way systems fail. We are at the system failure level. We cannot afford a catastrophic failure. Right. You wouldn't put your loved ones on that airline for the next 2.5 years every day. You wouldn't want us to be subjected to that potential risk. Let me ask this is a real question, not rhetorical. What would it take actually to get to level 5, or category 5? Because I really think if you were FAA looking at an airline, you would at least have us cease operations until we rectified the problem. So I guess the question is there a 4.5 where you say, you guys have to shut the reactor down, and you guys have to quickly move these spent fuel rods, because that's the vulnerability in this plant, in my opinion, is the spent fuel rods. You have to expeditiously move those spent fuel rods into a less vulnerable, more stable environment, and you have to cease operation in the plant until you rectify the following. Is there a process by which you can do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The process that governs our oversight for operating reactors is in a section of our inspection manual called Chapter 305. And that section describes the different levels of performance, the columns of the action matrix. And there are a set of criteria in there for the column 5 level of performance. And all of the criteria